Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of Empress Esoteric Hour with Akut Alegna, myself, and of course, my amazing co-star, Donatella Mushek. Today we're going to be talking about earth signs, so make sure to grab a pen and a paper and get ready. We're going to move your energy so you can move forward.
All right. So Donatella is going to tell us about some of the earth sign troubles, and we're going to listen in on the expert advice of Donatella and myself. You guys make sure that you have your pen and your paper handy and write some notes. I'm telling you, you're going to be thankful after this is all over. We're going to help you move your stagnant energy and get going forward into your true life's purpose. Donatella, we talked about the earth signs problems. Hoarding, patience and waiting was an issue. Lack of organization was an issue. Actually, there's a lot of Taurus and Capricorns saying they're having trouble with meditation. And we also feel that delegation is an issue. Go ahead and talk about that for a little bit.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donatella, Empress of Swords. You might have seen me on YouTube as well as probably on Facebook or Instagram. I go by Donatella Mushek. I talk a lot about astrology, the energy, intuition, and how to use our intuition. Today's subject is on earth signs. So our last episode, we were talking about water signs. This episode, we're talking more about earth signs. You may wonder who the earth signs are. We're talking about Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. And the reason why we're mentioning them today and the importance of them is because these zodiacs specifically, they are responsible for having everything grow. So if you've been feeling any stagnancy in your life at all, and you need someone to help you push things forward, there are people that can help you physically move things, like it's like the sense of moving mountains sometimes. And earth signs are the ones that can actually help you get there physically. There are some elements that have specialty in intuition. There are some elements that have specialty in communication. There are elements that have specialty in passion. But the best zodiacs for having any physical changes would be your earth sign. So if you need any changes in your life, these are the people that you need to be talking to right now. And that's your earth signs.
What kind of changes do you think that the earth signs can help us with?
For one is they could teach us what they have learned as far as, because earth signs are really good at showing us what they could do. So whatever you can prove to them physically, they'll believe it more than words or talking, things like that. They're more of a physical kind of people. So the issue comes in when they can't express to you what mistakes they've made in the process. Because if somebody's explaining their story and they don't explain what the mistakes were, they can't show you any process of growth. And you know that whenever you plant something in the ground, if it's a seed, when you're planting it, it needs water daily. There's going to be issues. There's weeds that you need to take out. Sometimes earth signs don't like to talk about the weeds that they've had to take out of their life. And this is where growth really comes in, when they can actually express their experience with others so that others can learn from them too.
Interesting. I love it. So let's talk about some of the problems that we have detected with earth signs. And first of all, tell me, in your opinion, and then I'll share mine, who do you think is not carrying their weight in the earth table?
I would say all three of them in different ways. So when it comes to, let's say Taurus has a problem with expressing the mistakes that they've made in their life because they have a little bit of a stubbornness. Sometimes you hear about the mistakes of other people. They are so focused on having their goals met and everything done that they kind of forget where they had made the mistake, if that makes any sense. So admitting to any kind of mistake or experience in their life. When it comes to Virgo, I would say the honesty of when they felt like their emotions changed. They have a hard time expressing when their emotions change because they're so busy trying to look like they're focused that they feel worried if they're scattered, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. They don't want to look like they're dual personality, so much to the point that they're trying to be laser focused, but then ignoring their emotions. Mm-hmm. So if you do that, then you're really ignoring your emotions. So there has to be a balance. And then with Capricorn, the honesty of where everything stands in as far as relationship and business. It's like they have a confusion with their responsibilities at work and their responsibilities at home. They are in work mode at home, And then I don't know if it flip-flops back and forth at work between home, but they kind of forget where they're at because they're so obsessed with work.
There is no
so
hope.
they're all three of these zodiacs. They're very laser focused on the earthly pleasures, where they kind of forget about their emotions. They forget about the importance of their emotions. Some of them, I've seen them so strong to the point that they absolutely do not want to show their emotions at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in a way, it could be a defense mechanism where it's going to protect them from ever feeling vulnerable. But then if you're not vulnerable, where's the growth? Because even a flower is going to be vulnerable while it's growing, right?
Yes.
So they have to ask themselves, are they willing to grow in whatever situation they're in? And if so, who can you grow with? Are you more comfortable with the water signs, with the fire signs, or with the air signs? And it's all going to be for a different reason. Whatever they're going through in their life, they're going to attach to different zodiacs at different times, whether it's for friendship, business, or partnership. But they use it as a form of benefit in their life. But if you do that, are you connecting with people for the real reason, for the emotional reason, not just the physicality? Because when you're emotionally healthy, the money just flows in. It's just going to naturally flow in, right? You don't have to worry about if you're doing something right or wrong in your life. Everything, you have a material abundance naturally. But if you are confused between your emotion and really what's going on in your day to day and ignoring your emotion, then you're going to have problems between those two different realms of reality. If that makes sense.
Yes, and I love your perspective. In my opinion, I have really been out there. As you know, I'm out there every day in my purpose. And I put myself in position where I can meet people. I'm meeting people every day, and that's my little bit of fire. And I'm just earth signs are just coming to me for assistance, and I'm getting about 3 to 4 total and complete strangers that are of different earth elements with amazing chart side pieces, okay, other aspects in their charts that don't really reflect that need, that water, which is something that they really need. So I'm talking to mostly Tauruses and Capricorns that are like way down. And then the Virgos that I'm encountering, I'm not really getting to have those conversations with them. I'm getting to watch them. I'm getting to feel them and to empathically understand what's going on. And then I call them out and then I make them talk to me. So Virgo is not communicating their troubles. Virgo is, I would say, I would say that Virgo is not communicating, which is not using or utilizing any air elements, which means they're also void of a water element. What are you going to talk about if your emotions are not attached, right? So you're not going to reach out to people. You're not going to communicate. You're not going to express yourself. And so I'm seeing that this is what's happening with the Virgo collective is they're not wanting to talk. They're not wanting to talk about it. They're like, I got it. I can handle it. I'm good. And they're cold and cutting people off. And then you've got Capricorn energy, which is they're all complaining basically the same complaint that they're having to do things manually. They're having to go the long way to get the results that they know that there's another system for this. For instance, there may be a particular software at work they could be using, and the boss is refusing to integrate or upgrade their current technology, forcing Capricorn to do it the long way. And Capricorn is saying, hey, I thought you said, hey, I thought we were going to do, but they're not pushing the issue. It's
a matter of looking perfect in a way.
Yeah, exactly. There's no vulnerability. They're not saying, they're saying, hey, I thought we were going to do this, but they're not saying, right. Listen, we're not doing this and it's costing me this. It's hurting me. It's causing this. It's bringing me down. It's depressing me. It's causing non-productivity and it's taking away from my end game. And that is because these earth elements are failing to connect with the water elements. Like you said, they absolutely need to be vulnerable right now. And they're disconnected from any type of water element, which means they're struggling with their earth element, which is to focus on the material. You can't manifest the material unless you are vulnerable. And you also need that air and fire element to be able to move things around and make things happen. Capricorn in particular, if you're experiencing stagnancy, you got to reach for other elements in your chart. If you don't have these elements in your chart, or you don't know how to utilize them or access them, that's okay. Talk to people. Ask people what their sign is. Choose your alliances according to the energies that you need, and you build that strong team, and they can influence you to get into that state of vulnerability, even if you got to fake it till you make it.
That sounds really easy for us air signs to do. However, earth signs, they have a fear of being honest because they're worried about manipulation for one. And they're worried that they're going to have to be off track on the current track that they're on if they expose more of who they really are. So it's a matter of taking the mask off and being able to be whoever they want to be. Because they're, I think Earth have a problem with trust, and that's going to be major with anybody. You know, if it's going to be a reflection on them, because if they can't trust the people that are around them, then they're going to have issues in their own way that they're projecting everything. It's going to have it's going to have an output on everything that the way that they're viewing everything is going to really affect everything physically.
Makes sense.
And I don't mean monetarily. I mean, like, who's in your surroundings? If they're even able to talk to any water signs, are they even capable of being emotional with certain people that are supposed to be connected in their life, but they're not? Are they even able to communicate with those people?
And, you know, that's funny because with the disassociation of earth and water, and I find that Taurus in particular, they have such a hard time vibing with, for instance, Cancer. Most Tauruses cannot tolerate a Cancer. Most of them. Because Cancer wants to touch everything. And Taurus is like, do you know how much that cost? Do not clean my table. I'll clean it. Do you know how much that cost?
But look at the benefit if they would just stop thinking about anything, and you have the luxury, and just thinking about the emotion. You know, just to take a step back and actually really respect your emotions. Really respect the way that you're feeling. Because every time you look at your car gauge and the sensor comes on, that's the car telling you it has a problem. You take it to a mechanic right away. But how often do we pay attention to our emotions when our triggers come up? When someone hits a trigger, they're not even hurting us, but they're somehow hitting a trigger that affects us. How does that affect you? Can you talk about, honestly, being honest, can earth signs really talk about their finances with their partner and their spouse or their family? Can they really, really open up and talk about really what's going on, where their purchases are going, what their investments are? Can they even bring it up with children or their partners or their friends? Can they really talk about these things?
Oh, and they need to. They need to.
Shouldn't it be like a casual conversation? Because, you know, most usually people could talk about, you know, what they're doing, how they're doing it. You know, it's like a progress report. And for mentors, it's like a progress report. For people that are still learning, you could be a teacher for others. So it doesn't matter what level you are. You're not expressing your story. It's because there's some kind of hesitation, and you have to wonder why is the hesitation? What is stopping them emotionally? And sometimes it has nothing to do with that particular situation, but other emotions that they're covering up.
Interesting. So some of the problems that we detected with the earth signs that truly need to be addressed with this transit that we have. Let's go over that transit right quick. Let me pull up my notes. Right now we have the moon in Cancer. South node is Chiron in Aries. South node and Chiron, in Aries. Neptune and Jupiter is in Pisces. The Sun and Saturn, of course, is in Aquarius. Mercury and Pluto in Capricorn, also including Venus and Mars, which is like stellium energy. With a stellium in Capricorn, I would think that Capricorn is fighting the good fight, but it's all in Capricorn's head and heart. When there's a misalignment with the head and the heart, with this type of stellium, I would say Capricorn is, Capricorn has, I would say, that golden light right now. You're the golden child, Capricorn. I would say that if you would just dare to step into your power and dare get emotional and dare to get vulnerable and dare to address some of the issues and the problems that, are weighing you down. With this transit, I can't understand why you wouldn't be putting Bill Gates out of business.
Because they had to dare themselves to ever admit to a mistake. And this is the biggest growth that any earth sign can do, especially Capricorn. If they could dare to admit any mistake, they're going to leap and bound to the next step in their life. If they could dare to do something like that.
Which requires vulnerability.
Yes. And this is what we're always talking about, pushing energy so we can elevate higher. We're not trying to trigger anyone to tell them, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. And this needs to do, this has some kind of purpose where they can actually benefit so that way they can relate with everybody else. And that's what everybody would want, right? Mm-hmm. To really be able to be relatable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I understand. So some of the things that we felt like really earth signs are struggling with was hoarding and, being forced to exemplify patience and being forced to wait for things that they know belong to them, and not having an explanation as to why there's still a wait. Why? And it's because, and it's really Capricorn I'm speaking to. Capricorn needs to be the one to speak up. Capricorn, Mercury and Pluto in Capricorn, those two planets alone in the sign of Capricorn means that Capricorn needs to make the change. Capricorn needs to communicate the problem, okay? Capricorn's going to have to identify it, be vulnerable about it, and really speak life into the change that they want to see. And that can help the rest of the earth table. Taurus gets to admit, you know what? You're right. We could have done this differently. I made a mistake. I misjudged this. I miscalculated it. Let's try this. And then, Virgo can come in and say, let me take a look at it. Let me figure it out. You know what, you guys? You're right. Let's do it. And bam, success.
It sounds easy.
The earth signs are going to work together. It's going to start with Capricorn communicating what's going on. Taurus is going to receive that. Taurus is going to admit fault. Taurus is going to take responsibility. Taurus is going to show you, how do we build from here? Okay, we made these mistakes. Let's wipe this shit clean, Pluto. All right, let's wipe this shit clean. Let's start from here and build upwards. All right. Virgo is going to say, that'll work. No, that don't work. Virgo will have the final say so as whether or not we're done at the drawing board. But Capricorn has to take the scenario or the problem, the issue, whether it's hoarding, a patience, a lack of organization, a lack of meditation, whether it's, being unable to delegate, whatever the issue is, okay? Because there is a plethora of suppressive issues right now. The earth sign or the earth element as a collective is experienced. If Capricorn will take control of that issue and use that Plutonian energy to make that change, that brings Taurus up into responsibility, and that brings Virgo into their true analytical sense. We're saying, yeah, let's build. Blueprint, done. Let's build.
If you press the easy button, this is exactly what you would do, right? But if their sacral chakra is being affected, let's say if a Capricorn, a Taurus, or either a Virgo realizes that the major problem is admitting to a mistake, and that big mistake is going to affect their life source financially, they're not going to want to take that mask off because it's better to look good in front of the public. So at that point, you got to say, is this person going to be able to break down, to rebuild? And if they're not willing to, why are they doing this?
Why wouldn't they be inspired if Capricorn is willing to take the lead and be vulnerable? Why wouldn't Taurus be inspired? I would imagine they would. I think that
worried if somebody would make fun of them in what their projects are. So if they have any family members or friends that are pressuring them into having a certain lifestyle, being with a certain person, living in a certain place, or even pushing them to just run away, they have to do everything in hiding. Earth signs usually like to show what they're doing financially. They like to show off what they're doing luxury wise, but they're very particular about how private they are. They're going to make it look like they're exposing everything when 20% is being uncovered and 80% is hidden. And that
is twisted
because they think that this is going to solve the problem.
So let's talk about some of the solutions. I think the earth signs, in retrospect to hoarding, and really stockpiling, over stockpiling. I mean, we just went through this whole COVID thing that it put so much fear in everyone except for me was hoarding. I don't believe in that. I lived with a hoarder. I grew up with a hoarder. And so I understand the mindset of a hoarder. And then I ran a cleaning service for 30 years, a very successful cleaning service in Florida for 30 years. And I've worked for quite a few hoarders or people who have the ability to take it from stockpiling to hoarding with just one more package. What do you tell those people to solve that problem?
They should actually be, it's kind of like checking the mail and checking your email. It's the same feeling, really. People that are holding on to things and collecting them, it's because they have fear that nothing else is going to come in. So every time you clean something up or fix something up, something else comes in. There's another energy that comes in, whether it's financial, whether it's monetary, or it's physical. Learning to let go creates more to come in. You have to make room. You have to make space for a future. And pre-planning ahead was really going to help. Don't be afraid to open those boxes. Don't be afraid to check the mail. And once you do, you'll be fine. Check your email, check your mail, check your closet, check everything, because there's treasure in there too. Don't just have fear. Be willing to find treasure. You might actually find treasure and getting excited. Be hopeful. And
I strongly suggest giving things away. I know that half of the things that people hoard and hold on to, they're really not valuable. It is, like you said, brought into the house as a derivative of fear. And then get advice on that. If you are hoarding or experiencing any type of, ridiculous over stockpiling type of venture in your life, get advice about that. Maybe you could hire a cleaning professional. Maybe you can hire a professional organizer. You can go to Jobber. There's so many resources where you can actually bring someone in and actually delegate, which is one of our amazing problems that we realize that some of the earth signs are having, is not being willing to delegate because of the fear of being exposed for having error, right? So if they're willing to do that, they can get the advice from a professional and just kind of lay back and let them do their thing and trust that the end result will be the best result. There's nothing wrong with living a minimalistic lifestyle, not that we're necessarily endorsing or encouraging it, but we do want you to rethink any hoarding that you're experiencing or doing, either involuntarily or voluntarily, because I believe that some people are actually doing it without even realizing, I'm a hoarder. You know what I mean? Karmic doesn't know they're karmic. You know what I mean?
Feels good to give too. It doesn't matter if items are used or if they're brand new. It does not matter. The thought of something sentimental, and this is something that water signs do. This is what's so special about them, is that when they give away something that they've had for a long time, it's actually more meaningful than actually going to the store and buying something brand new. These are considered like heirlooms, something from your chest that you can actually give away and someone else can hold on to. It's actually, got to think of it like it's more meaningful to be able to give back something you've already had that's been in your energy that you can pass on to somebody else. It's like passing your energy.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's talk about patience and waiting. That was one of the biggest complaints that I heard from these earth signs over for about the last 2 weeks, is being forced to just kind of like wait out everyone else's problem. Like they can't get through their workload because there's problems. And there's nothing they can do about it. They don't have the authority. They don't have the power. They're not in, the decision-making capability to make the change, but they can incite that change. But once that change is incited, I think, and you had mentioned it earlier, that they need to be more mindful of what they're manifesting. And you said specifically, Donatella, that a 5-year plan, an earth sign should have a minimum of a 5-year plan. I really love that idea. I agree with it.
With just finances either. And I mean, it's great and all to have your list of your dream home and your dream car and how much money you're going to have and save and this and that. What do you want with your family? What do you want with your friends? Like, don't forget about your emotions. What are your 5-year goals on your emotions too? Don't just think about physically what you're going to see. Emotionally, who do you want to be in the next 5 years as well? That's also equally.
I remember a soulmate asking me this one question one time: where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I thought to myself, I don't know, but I couldn't answer that question. The truth is I could see it, and I knew. The truth is I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to share that. But what I should have done in that moment was recognize that I really do know, and I should take note of that. And I didn't. And so I spent that 5 years being a simple-minded mess, not having the guidance system that even I created, and that there were consequences for not being organized, not understanding, step by step, how do I get to where I see myself in 5 years? I mean, I had the vision, but I didn't do the work to figure out how to get there. And that is my best way to actually do planning, is to see the last step, see yourself where you want to be, and then backtrack to where you are today. And that is how you create your 5-year plan. If you could do that, there's no reason you can't succeed.
See, now I'm not even getting offended when someone doesn't even give me an answer on what their 5-year plan is. I'm not even getting offended because now I already know they don't even have one. They have an idea of it, but it's not really ready yet. So when they're ready, then they start talking about it. It's their own insecurity sometimes that they're not even talking about it. So next time when you ask someone, you're really going to want to know. Someone that really wants to know what your 5-year plan is, really cares about you, really wants to know where you're going to be at. And if you don't have that capacity to tell them, it's either A, you're still up in the plans, or B, you don't trust this person. Yeah. But the thing with the earth signs is, what are you doing affiliating with people you don't trust in the first place? Can you just be straight up and just tell them that and start being public about who you are and why you keep it away, why you can't express it? Either a person has to be afraid of the feds or, they really are insecure. They can't explain themselves. That you have to have if someone really cares about you, you should be ready. If you have your answer, you should be ready to talk about what your goals are, especially if you trust the people that are around you. It should be easy for you, right? If it's not easy,
I didn't trust him.
You didn't trust him.
No.
And it should be obvious to him that he needs to step back and reevaluate. And that's the perfect question to ask somebody. What's your 5-year plan? That's really, really something that you should be able to ask anybody, because right away you'll get your answer. And that's what the earth signs need to understand that is very important, is being transparent. If you cannot express this, you got to talk about why. It's going to help people grow.
And expressing that requires a significant amount of vulnerability. And you're only going to get the ability to be that kind of vulnerable by tapping into your emotions, which is going into water. All right. Nice. The other thing we also suggested for some of these solutions was making small steps to get organized. Clearing out clutter, getting rid of things. Healing a hoarding issue is, it also requires a lot of small steps to move forward. Organization is going to be required. You're going to have a lot less stuff to deal with. You're going to be looking for things that you don't own anymore. Okay. Once you clear out some of the clutter and the hoarding, you're going to, lose yourself, try to remember, who did you give this to? Who did you give that to? But you got to clear that out. You got to let those emotions go with the clutter. And then you have to get organized by starting to commit to very small steps of moving forward. One day, one step at a time, and nothing more.
Very true. Very true. I want to add that whatever is going on in your mind is going to reflect in your environment. So if there's hoarding going on around you, that is literally, it's showing literally what is going on in your mind. So if there's hoarding going on, then there's a lot of clutter of ideas that have not been organized in your mind as well. Once you clean up the mess in your mind is already cleared.
Yes, yes. And we talked about earth signs struggling to meditate. I had 3 people just yesterday, and I don't know exactly what the third person's sign was, because we didn't get that far in the conversation, but they just kind of poured it out, and she had to go. But the other 2 was a Capricorn and a Taurus. And excuse me, sorry. And basically they were telling me that they were struggling to meditate, or they were going into meditation and not feeling or experience anything. And, I just gave them all the same advice that I would tell anybody, that I would tell for myself, that I, would regulate my own meditation, practices with. And that is that you need to remember that meditation, and I think I even did a video about this maybe 2 years ago. Meditation is not about receiving a message. Going into a meditation is about releasing what's on your mind and on your heart. Okay. It's about letting go of what's bothering you. So when you release, you can receive. There's space to receive. If you hold on to everything that's freaking you out and you go into a meditation and you don't release it, no, you're not going to get any gifts. You're not going to get any blessings. You're not going to get any downloads. You're not going to hear anything but your mind, your ego, your worries, your stress. This is the time in a meditation where you literally have to release it. Go into a meditation with the intention set before you decide to go into a meditation. Or for me, before I go into a meditation, I literally intend to release. This is what's bothering me. I need to meditate because I do not desire to be stressed and worried about this particular issue anymore. So I elect to go into a meditation, and I will begin my meditation by saying, I release this to the universe. Universe, take it from me. It's too heavy. I don't want it. I give it to you. And then you've cleared your mind, you've cleared your heart, you've cleared that space. Your meditation was about releasing. So when you feel comfortable,
you're allowing yourself to do it. You have to tell yourself it's okay. There's some people that don't even allow themselves to have off time to do that.
Some people don't realize that it can take hours and sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months before you receive an answer or receive the download about what you released. So why not release it as soon as possible? Why hold on to it? When you release it, you make room for the answers to come in. You make room for the change to come in. You make room for the new change of energy. Sometimes you have to switch ancestors. Sometimes you have to clean up your ancestor team. Sometimes you can't get shit together because you're working with a low vibing ancestor team. And only a meditation will help you to realize that. But you can't realize anything through a meditation if you're not willing to let go of what you're meditating about. That should help. That will help.
And meditate, either healing or meditation. You have to give yourself permission and that time. That's all about, not just about nurturing yourself with what you eat or how many hours of sleep. You have to sometimes step back and allow yourself to have that moment of really putting your mind through therapy. And that's really what meditation is allowing yourself that time to analyze in a healthy way.
That's so true. And we also think that earth signs really need to ask for more help. You know, and this goes along the precipice of the fear factor that you mentioned. When you're afraid of being judged, when you're afraid of, you know, people seeing that you're struggling or you're in fear or that you are concerned or focused on lack, you know, and earth signs are so incredibly built by their persona. Are you there? Did we lose you? There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I have a timer here. We still have a little bit of time left here. We got 20 minutes left. And we're going to kind of keep this, you know, up to about an hour's length, a little more if we need to, but we got about 20 minutes left to continue talking. So asking for help and speaking up. This is part of, you know, part of the earth sign needing to, really be honest and be vulnerable and say, you know what, I'm trying to conquer the world here. I think I need a hand. And that's hard for an earth sign to do. I have a Taurus who is extremely close to me, who I talk to very often. And this person was getting she was actually getting a new, she's a influencer, and she was doing a makeup deal or doing a skincare company deal where she'll be talking about these particular skincare products. And she has blotches on her skin because she lives in an area of the world where the sunlight is limited. Okay, so the blotchiness has nothing to do with her skin or her DNA. It has to do with not being able to get enough sun. You feel you're with me? So this particular company challenged her, and they tried to push her and carrot in front of her and dangle all kind of incentives for her to put on more makeup or to put on makeup. And this person like absolutely fought and fought, and this is a Taurus, and she absolutely fought and fought and fought and said, "Look, you're gonna respect me. I'm beautiful. I love the skin that I'm in. I don't see my blotches. You do. I see healthy, perfect skin. Now, do you want me to sell your products, or do you want to argue about my makeup? We have a deal or not?" And they had no choice but to respect her wishes. She was not going to be pushed into glamour when her focus and her passion was about skincare. So that was a really brave Taurian move. So Taurus is beginning to speak up a little bit and demand the respect that they deserve. But I didn't hear her talk about how much it impacted her to literally be pushed to, you know, her buttons were pushed, like either you put this makeup on or we don't have a deal. You know what I mean? And that's what they tried to make her feel like, you know, and as a Taurus, she fought back and said, "No, I don't wear makeup. I'm a skincare junkie. Either we're doing skincare or you can call somebody else." And they were like, "Okay, we'll do skincare." So she won, you know what I mean? But it was about Taurus standing in their power and speaking up, really speaking up. And if there are any Taurians or Virgos or Cappies out there who are afraid to speak up for the fear of being judged, for the fear of being categorized, you know, I'm telling you right now, if that Taurian example doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. Go and get what you want. And if they're not vibing according to your passions, then this is just truly not your tribe. Keep moving. So the other thing is, you wanted to talk specifically to the earth signs about leadership. We have 18 minutes left in this segment. And I'm going to go ahead and let you speak your piece. I think what you had to say was so important. And I don't think that I could say it any better than the way that you had expressed it before. So Donatella, please tell the earth signs how important leadership is and how they can really embark on a leadership journey in the younger stages, you know, of adolescence, earth signs moving up into an adult, mature, manifesting earth sign.
Yes, definitely. I would love to explain. What I was trying to say is that earth signs, they have an amazing role in leadership sometimes. Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. The problem is when they have a hard time expressing what they need to do in order to have some exchange between the other person for growth. And in order to do that, you kind of have to express where your faults are at. Like in the beginning, I was saying, in order for them to have any growth is to realize when they were growing. And in that process, it's all about communication and having that give and take. It's having that equal amount of trust, projecting trust. When they project trust, there's going to be some growth. There's going to be changes. There's going to be stages where they can actually take, it's like a ladder step that they can have with people.
I like that. So how does let's say a 20-year-old earth sign compare in leadership to maybe a 50-year-old? Not that they compare in leadership, but what are the steps that a 20-year-old looking at a 50-year-old earth sign in leadership, aspiring to be that person? Where are they going? What do they need to focus on?
See, it depends on how their view and perspective on abundance is. Sometimes people look at it like, okay, well, if I'm in a relationship, then I'm going to be more financially abundant. Sometimes they're looking at it like, well, if I'm single and I'm educated, then I'm going to be more financially abundant. It depends on the stage of their life. Sometimes in their 20s, they're going to be creating scenarios in their life where they're financially abundant, but spiritually weak, or spiritually weak. And, or like vice versa, basically what I'm trying to say. But it depends on how open they can be. If they create a reality where they can't express where their faults were in the process of growing, they're going to have to take a lot longer to grow. So you can have an earth sign that starts their life in their 20s, far as marriage, children, whatever you think an accomplishment in the life is. You can have a different earth sign look at it where they're just wanting to succeed, but they're doing it in a different way than another way. So sometimes they go backwards, sometimes they go forwards. I can't say that the 20-year-old has it right, because when it comes to having intelligence, they have it, but emotionally they can be confused, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So they can build everything that they want to build. They can be leaders in their 20s. They can be leaders in their 50s, but at the same time in their 50s, they can be looking back at their 20s, realizing what mistakes they made. But you can actually zone in and hone in on what you want your future to look like by not making the mistakes that you're making today. If you can plan ahead, if you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan.
I was going to say the 5-year plan.
If you can plan ahead, you're not going to have these bunch of distractions. If you know by 50 years old, you're going to want a spouse, you're going to want children, you're going to want this, you're going to want that. You can plan ahead and not let any other obstacles come later on. Yes, you could do it great, but sometimes we make mistakes, right? We make mistakes in our 20s, we make mistakes in our 30s, but admitting that and starting over is a lot for some people. So that's what, yes, we will respect the fact that, yes, you are intelligent, but everybody does make mistakes. And that's when you got to take off that mask. So if you need to reset and restart, do it, because emotionally, you're not going to be able to deal with it emotionally if you have to suppress it later. That's where it's going to be very hard in your 50s when you don't even allow yourself to reset if you need to. And if you have time, like you said, to meditate, to relax, analyze, do I want my life like this, exactly the way it is in the next 15, 20 years? Yes. Okay, fine. Proceed. Do exactly what you're doing. But if you're not emotionally content, financially content, make a list of what you want and how you're going to get there. You don't have to have every single detail, but if you can feel yourself emotionally, you can actually, if you can get yourself there in the mind, believe that you will get yourself there later physically. But it's all about your intentions. What are your intentions later on? And the problem is that sometimes people change their intentions because of growth. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have meditation, then you cannot grow. If you don't have time to admit mistakes, admit that you need a reset, how are you going to grow? And you have to understand this early on. And that's all about being honest early on. That's all about talking about, like, if I'm with you and we're having dinner, and if I can't talk about my 5-year plan, then even our friendship is going to be kind of a little bit weary too, because you're not going to know if I move or if I have different plans or different things. So in a way, I'm kind of setting myself up too bad, because I'm not realizing what I want to do myself, because in the process, we're all growing. But if we don't figure out what we're going to do in the future, it's either going to conflict with ourselves or the other people that we're dealing with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the consequences that we recognize, and we've got about 12 minutes left, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And just briefly, just kind of get a little shock therapy is what I grew up knowing this as, and that is to hear about the consequences of not getting your ish together. And basically, earth signs, hoarding leads to a lot of overexposure of multiple energies, especially if you have a lot of old items around you. So yes, this was a conversation. Yes, you're hearing it. Yes, this may be a difficult conversation for you to digest and really take in to apply to your situation. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you are exposed to too many things in your environment, your energy is just going to be frazzled every single day to where you can't do things like meditate or make a plan or see it through. So be mindful in Feng Shui. And I love Bagua. An Asian lady once told me, too many things on the wall it causes a lot of problems in your life. So, Taurus will never have that problem. Love you, Taurus. Capricorn, Virgo, Virgo might be the problem.
Virgo like a lot of things on their wall.
Virgo might be the problem, and Capricorn puts big things in small spaces, so it depends on who they are and what other things, but be careful of the overexposure to too many things emitting different energies in your environment. It will affect your frequency. Also, we were talking about the big L. Don't be afraid to take a few L's in your life, and there'll be little L's and there'll be big L's, and be proud of them. Donald Trump says, you can't get rich until you're at least $1 million in debt. You're not even rich until you're at least $1 million in debt. And that's true. I don't believe in that process, but there is a lot of truth to that.
All about getting rid of your fear.
Yeah, you have to face that. And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure is a learning experience. When you fail, you learn what you don't like. You learn what you don't want. You learn what doesn't work for you. You learn to find your true authenticity through failure. So embrace your failure and speak about it and teach others how to, block and prevent their own failures. Not that you're going to do it for them, but, you're going to put your experience out there and people will take what they need. Always put it out there. And when it's needed, it will be received. And the other thing was, if you're not meditating, of course, and I think I mentioned it already, you are going to be blocked off from source. You can't hear your intuition if you're not able to clear your chakra system and especially your mind. You got to think about your human body as having 8 brains. And if you're operating only using this brain, honey, you're done. You're done. Forget about it. Hang it up. You're blocked off. You have to use all of your brains. And when you do, you open yourself up to portals of the absolute truth that you are. And that is abundance. That is stability. That is reliability. That is dependability.
Right.
You can be your true self.
Yes.
Right?
And trusting that everything will work out. Having faith and trust in when you're meditating, you can have a goal on what this meditation is for. If your is the lack of trust in abundance, the lack of trust in people, the lack of trust in being financially stable, having that trust is going to get rid of that fear. Yeah. Building whatever is giving you fear, whether it's you don't have faith in others, you don't have faith in your financial stability, having that trust, building that trust that it's going to happen will give you a change within 24 hours. I'm telling you, that meditation work, it can manifest itself in about less than 24 hours. Your whole life can change.
So I am looking forward to, in the future, we'll be able to talk about being faith-based and what faith really means to us. We got about 7 minutes left. I just want to say that earth signs, if you're not willing to step up and take the lead, especially Capricorn, because I think, Capricorn can really fix and shift all of the earth energy. And if Capricorn is willing to do that, everybody gets to, teeter a little bit into something a little different to shift themselves perfectly, right? Or at least excellently. I don't really believe in perfection. I believe in excellence. But if you're not willing to do that, earth signs, unfortunately, the consequence of not being able to step up into your truth and, heal these certain triggers and issues and, problems in your life, you are going to, have to continue with this burden, and it will repeat as patterns and as karmic cycles. And instead of getting richer and being better and, growing into that 50-year-old, what you desire yourself to be, you're going to stay at that 20-year-old, making mistakes, failure type of energy. So this is to scare you. I am trying to scare you straight, not scare you to hurt you, but to scare you straight. So 5 minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to say?
I just want to thank you for all of your time and, letting us express the importance of how important earth signs are in our lives, because a lot of them have been actually a really great influence for us. And we're very grateful and thankful to have them in our lives. The only part that we're missing is having that emotional connection sometimes. And earth signs, I would really highly recommend reaching out to fellow water signs, whether they're in your family or if they're friends or any relatives. Figure out who the water signs are in your life. They will help you express that emotional love that you've been wanting to express that haven't been able to. They are really the people that will help you bridge the gaps in your life. Those are the Cancers, the Pisces, and the Scorpios. These people will help you bridge the gaps.
Also going by the water, literally and physically sitting by the water, taking more ritualistic bathing practices into your life can help. Not just showering to get clean, but showering as a form of meditation, as a spiritual ritual is, oh my gosh, try it. I could do this all night long. Just try it. All right, guys. And that is basically it. We're going to let you go for the earth signs. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 3. We love sharing. We're looking forward to doing more of these amazing videos. We would also like to incorporate other people, other empresses. Of course, you must be of an empress status, but to join us if you are an energy expert and you feel that you are a true empress and you can contribute to this kind of conversation. Once we finish this elemental segment, we'd love for you to join us, and we can make room for another video box here on the screen, don't you think?
We'd love to have somebody else here. I'd love that.
I would love that too. So I will include an email address where you can submit your info if you'd be interested, and I will communicate with you.
Yes.
And Donatella and I will see how we could collaborate together and what would be the best. So I'm looking forward to whatever happens with that. But until next time, you guys, who's up next, Donatella?
Up next, we're going to be talking to the air signs. Air signs, you have a lot of communicating to do. There's a lot of reaching out to do. Once we get the water signs and the earth signs moving along, air signs have a lot to talk. So I will be looking forward to that one, guys.
Makes sense, because fire is about passion and action, and we're not going to talk the talk. We're going to walk the walk.
That's right.
When it's all said and done. So I'm loving it. So you guys, I don't know if you understand what we've been doing. 2 minutes left. We started with water so we can get the emotions up and rising, working with Chiron. And now we are getting the earth and the material, the resilience, the resistance removed from the earth energy so they can move forward to start communicating their emotions, bringing in that water, and we're moving on to air. We're going to communicate what we're feeling, and then we're going to take action on what has been done, and hopefully we'll be in balance. Only Olympics will know what I'm talking about, right? All right, guys.
Love you all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us, Donatella.
Thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.